Hello, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. Okay, we'll give people a couple of more minutes to join the webinar, and then we'll start. You should see the presentation of IDF Eurasia on your screens, and this will be our topic of today's webinar, the 9-month results for our Eurasian business. Actually, following the webinar, you can send us the comments in terms of the timing, the day. Is it convenient for you, or maybe like you would prefer to have the webinar in the mornings before the day starts, or maybe actually later in the evening after everything. So yes, so those comments are also welcome, not just about the performance of the company. Because what obviously our goal is to try to make this webinar as convenient for everyone and as informative. Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe probably later in the day. Next time we'll do it later in the day, so it's easier for people to join, because I'm sure they have other work. So. Okay, so I'll be starting now. So there are less people than we had for the ID Finance webinar. I take it as a sign of confidence. People are confident in our performance. They're happy how the company is doing, and they don't have any questions, and they are all worried about other things. So I'll take it as a good sign. Or maybe they're just bored of me now. We need to invite other people to talk as well. Okay, so today I'll talk about the overall performance. I'll then focus in more detail about the performance of Kazakhstan business, because, for example, on Mintos platform, that's the exposure people have. That's the investment they're making. So I'm sure that you are more interested in the performance of our business in Kazakhstan. And then I'll wrap it up with a couple of words about Russian business, and I'll open the floor to the Q&A. Okay, just a quick reminder, our Eurasian business combines operations in Russia and Kazakhstan. It was started in 2012, and we have issued more than 1 billion loans by that time. Currently, the portfolio is $170 million, and we expect to close the year with about $200 million of net portfolio across 2 countries. The biggest part of the portfolio is attributed to the business in Kazakhstan under the brand Solva. This is expected to be about 50% of the portfolio by the end of the year. And despite the volatility and the COVID, we are showing strong performance, strong financial results. We expect to close the year roughly doubling the net income of last year, and we'll close the year with about $20 million of net income. We are at 15 at the end of the third quarter, and so far on track to close 20 million plus for the year. There were a couple of interesting transactions in the third quarter of the year, which includes our debut public bond transactions in Kazakhstan. There were actually 2 placements. One was in Almaty Stock Exchange, KASE, and the second one was in Nur Sultan on the Nur Sultan Stock Exchange. In total, we raised about $17 million equivalent in tenge. An interesting project was launched in Russia. It's a secured lending for SMEs, for small and medium enterprises. We continue to be the leaders in the region. We have the highest credit rating among all our peers at BBB- from Expert Agency. We continue to drive the business through innovations, and the usage of artificial intelligence has been recognized in IDF EURASIA. And also we do a lot, or we try to contribute to sustainable development, sustainable growth. That means taking good care, or not just on the performance of the portfolio, but taking good care of our clients and the world around us. So similar to ID Finance, we are a carbon neutral organization in this region as well. So to summarize, we continue to operate mainly remotely. So we've prepared the infrastructure in the beginning of the year, in the first quarter, to continue the operations without any loss of efficiency via remote work. So all of our people, all of our staff is able to work remotely. We are not forcing people to come back to the offices, even though the office is open and people are welcome to attend. They can continue to work from home at least until the end of the year, given the whole situation with COVID. And we see that the KPIs and the efficiency of the employment is maintained at a very high level. So we haven't seen any deterioration of KPIs despite the new normal, the new conditions for all of our staff, for everyone actually. We continue to be very conservative on the risk model. We reduced the approval rate approximately by a third in both Russia and Kazakhstan in the first quarter of this year. Sorry. And we will remain conservative until the end of the year, at least. And that allowed us to make sure that the efficiency and the profitability of the business have not deteriorated. Funding, I think we've done a lot of progress on funding. We've launched debut transactions in Kazakhstan. It's not just the first transaction for our company, but it's the first bond for the whole industry. And I think that will pave a way, first of all, for us as a company to accelerate the growth in 2021, but also as an industry. I think this is a great opportunity for the industry to grow, to become a bigger part of the economy. Obviously, given that the local currencies are volatile, we continue to hedge the risk against dollars and euros. I already mentioned that we became carbon neutral organization in Russia and Kazakhstan. Also wanted to point out that our team continues to try and help the victims of the COVID. They're helping the medical organizations, they're helping the hospitals, they're helping the people, and just wanted to say thank you to the team. So the results of our operations in Kazakhstan. The portfolio in Kazakhstan have roughly doubled in 9 months of the year. Solva is obviously the driver behind it, and the opportunity that we're seeing in the market is phenomenal. And in the Eurasian business, we expect that the Solva operations will be the key driver for the growth for the next 3-4 years. We're seeing good, strong demand for our product across various client groups, from individuals, micro enterprises, small businesses. More importantly, we have achieved this growth while improving the profitability. So the net income of the business have also increased and reached about 1.6 billion of tenge, which is roughly $4 million of net profit. So as mentioned, we've done 2 public bond transactions. This was the last quarter, in the 3rd quarter of the year, and we became the largest and the fastest growing NBFI or microfinance organization in the country. I've showed this graph actually on previous webinars as well, demonstrating how the performance of the portfolio we've seen through the COVID, through the 2nd quarter and the 3rd quarter of this year. We've reduced the approval rate by about 1/3, as I mentioned, and as a result, we managed not just to maintain the portfolio quality, but actually the resulting performance was better than what we've seen in the beginning of the year. So which basically demonstrates that the risk actions that we've done successfully navigated the increased volatility and the worsening of the economic situation in the country. So as overall performance in Kazakhstan, the equity has continued to grow. Now almost 1/3 of the capital of the business is funded by own equity. That should give additional comfort, obviously, for the debt investors, for the bond investors, for the investors on Mintos. The revenues have doubled roughly, and the net income has also increased. And that just demonstrates the resilience the business has in a difficult economic environment. So just summarizing, we continue to grow. The portfolio doubled. The combined operating income is about $6 million, and we expect to continue this trend until the end of the year. So the full year results would be $8-9 million of operating income, and the equity will probably be around 1/3 of all the assets. The business in Russia. I've mentioned we've launched a new project, which is under the brand ID MSB. MSB is the SME in Russian, which focuses on secured lending to small and medium enterprises. Even in a short period of time that we've been operating the product, we're already seeing a good flow of applications for various businesses to either invest in machinery, and they're willing to secure the lending with their assets, with their real estate assets. We've seen demand for businesses to expand, to maybe acquire additional branch, and again, the loans that will be secured by the real estate assets. We've seen a lot of demand for refinance, so people who have borrowed previously in different organizations want to refinance the existing loans and to to take advantage of the low interest rates that we're seeing today versus 2 years ago. This project will start, let's say, scaling next year. The MoneyMan, our core business in Russia, continued to perform well. It has grown about 15% from the beginning of the year on net portfolio basis. We have increased our rating to BBB-, so now we are the highest rated microfinance organization in the country. I think it's about 2 notches higher than our next competitor. And we are basically planning to continue to tap local capital markets. The ID Collect business, which is showing very promising results this year, they're actually one of the beneficiaries of the current difficult situation in the country, because they are able to purchase consumer credit portfolios at a relatively low prices. So we have banks who are willing to sell portfolios in search for liquidity at very attractive prices, and ID Collect is taking advantage of that and was able to scale its portfolio and profits this year. We are thinking about launching similar business in Kazakhstan next year. The summary of the performance of Russian business. So in terms of the net income, we're approaching 1 billion of net income for 9 months. So for the full year results, we expect approximately 1.2 to 1.3 billion rubles of net income for the full year. We expect to finish the year with more than 50% of equity in the business, which again demonstrates how highly capitalized the business is. Okay, at this point, I'll open the floor to questions. Let me scroll to the results of Kazakhstan operations, because I think these are the more relevant results for Mintos investors. Then we've done 2 recent bond transactions out of Kazakhstan, so I'll leave it here and open the floor to questions. Well, as I said, everyone is very happy with the performance. No questions, no issues. People have other things to worry about. That's good. Well, we'll publish. Could you ID Collect? Sure. So the business behind ID Collect, we purchase delinquent portfolios, usually with a delinquency of more than 90 days. Then we do legal collection. So we have a strong automated process to do legal collection. So we go to court and we see that the IRR, the return on the investments from purchasing the portfolio, is very attractive. The ROE currently in ID Collect is approximately 100%. So it's a very strong and profitable business. It builds up on the expertise that we have developed over time by working with our own portfolio. And now it's a standalone business within IDF EURASIA. The recovery rate of NPLs with the 36-month horizon. So usually after the default date, which we define as a 90-day delinquency, after that we expect to collect approximately 50 to 60% from the notional amount. That's the number in Kazakhstan. So 50 to 60% we can collect over the period of 3 years via soft and legal collection. Will the bond influence your presence in P2P platform, meaning decrease of the portfolio? Overall, yes, it will have an effect, because if we are looking to raise, let's say, I don't know, $20 million, and we have 4 different sources instead of 1, obviously then this volume will be spread across those 4 liquidity pockets. Similar here. Since starting this year, we'll have more liquidity pockets for our business in Kazakhstan. So part of the portfolio will be funded via different sources, not just Mintos. However, overall, I think we will still be present on Mintos because, as I said, the business will continue to grow. We see a strong demand for the business, and we will be using both the capital markets and the P2P platform to fund it. How is the hedge structured? Well, actually, it's quite a simple one. Relatively simple process. We have a counterparty which provides hedge for 1 or 2 years for dollar ruble, dollar tenge. They do it via the forwards for this FX. So we fix the FX rate today, what will be in 1 year or in 2 years. And I know that they then hedge themselves with one of the larger banks. So they hedge their positions with Citi, with Deutsche Banks, with large financial institutions, and then break it down to their clients to smaller tickets. And it's quite surprising that we end up hedging tenge and rubles in Spain. They provide the best terms, even compared to the local banks in Russia and Kazakhstan. Do you plan our own platform? Well, it's difficult to say. We always think about it for a couple of reasons. First of all, we see there is a demand from investors for those kind of investments. We currently, for example, use Mintos, and we sometimes think, well, we can do the same structure. We can do the same or similar platform and raise the money our own. But at the end of the day, in terms of where the time is better spent, we prefer at this point. We prefer to focus on growing our core business rather than launching something new. So in the nearest future, we will continue using capital markets or other P2P providers, Mintos, for example. So in the next 12 months, we probably will not end up launching our own platform. I think the main concern is related to not losing money on loan originators and getting a better share of interest from lenders. Well, here I would like just to comment that it's important, if you're an investor in Mintos, to actually analyze those lenders. And I would recommend to take some time to understand the financials, to see which company has audited financials, who is the auditor. If it's one of the big 4, then the numbers are more credible. Are they profitable? What's the track record? What's the product that they are launching, or what they have in their markets? What's their competitive environment? How are they positioned in the market? So I would definitely recommend to actually spend some time and understand the loan originators. And I'm sure you can find a lot of information, or I'm sure other loan originators also host similar webinars. If you have any questions, you can always send the questions directly to the loan originator, and I'll be surprised if they don't answer. We certainly do answer all the questions that we get. And in terms of the interest, don't get trapped in trying to seek for the highest interest rate. Because in my experience, all of the lenders who were extremely generous on the interest rates, they went bust, unfortunately. We've seen this situation in Russia. We've seen this situation in Kazakhstan. We've seen this situation on Mintos platform. So originators who are very aggressive on interest rate and saying that's not, there is a reason for that. And usually it's not a very good reason, and the risk with those originators is far greater than this extra yield that they're offering. So here I wouldn't be too focused on the interest rate on itself. I would look at the risk return. I mean, if you're happy with a higher risk, with slightly higher interest, it's up to you. But you have to remember that different interest rates that they offer more than likely are associated with a much higher and a different risk that they possess. What is the highest yield that is still normal, and where start the red flags? The normal, I would define normal as an average you see in the industry. So, for example, if you look at the emerging market alternative lenders, there are a number of public instruments out there. Currently, the average rate that you see is approximately 9.5%, 10%, maybe 11%. And then if someone is offering like significantly higher than this, I would be worried. So if someone is offering, I don't know, 14, 15, 16% in euros or dollars, that's strange, especially if they're funding a different currency with this loan, because they're either not hedging this loan and then there's an additional FX risk, or if they're hedging, then they end up with even higher cost for local currency. So the market that I see today, so anything like the about 10%, 10, 11 is kind of average. If you see a deviation more than 25% from that, I would start asking questions. Why? Are they desperate? What's happening? There is a limit to how much time you can spend on investigating the loan originators. Maybe you don't need to investigate all of them. Maybe you need to start, like you find a loan originator you're comfortable with, and then maybe you stop, right? You don't keep searching. Trust Mintos. I mean, they do provide a rating. It's a sign. I wouldn't blindly. Let's say I wouldn't blindly trust because everyone has their own judgment. Everyone has their own view. So I would just check and make sure that you understand what's behind the rating. Maybe to simplify, maybe you can break the loan originators into baskets. Like you say, one basket is like the larger one, more public, with audited financials, with a track record. That's one basket. Something new, higher risk, higher return, that's a different basket. And maybe find one or two originators within each basket, and then you can allocate some of your money into the safer basket and some of your money into like higher yielding, riskier basket. So that could be a strategy as well. So we do offer a direct investments into IDF Eurasia, and that's investing into the risk of the company. So you're not linked to a specific client or a specific borrower. You're taking a comfort of the whole portfolio. So if you lend the money to IDF Eurasia, that means that IDF Eurasia is responsible with all of its assets. So it's the whole business in Russia, it's its ID collect business, it's its portfolio in Kazakhstan. This way, basically your risk is spread across all of our business. And at the end of the day, I think that's a very good structure, because I mean, if you don't have time to research loan originators, you definitely don't have time to research each of our borrowers. And then taking an approach where you take an average risk across the whole business is much more appropriate, and it's closer to what you get when you invest into public markets and bonds, etc. See the questions here. Okay. Do we plan further expansion in other countries? In the next 6 months, no. In the Eurasian region, Uzbekistan is an interesting market. It's a large market. It's growing, but we're not planning to expand there in the nearest future. I mean, it's always on our minds, but not in the next 6 to 12 months. It's a good question. What's your cost of income ratio? The cost of income ratio in Kazakhstan, it's about 20%, which is actually the lowest across all our peers. So like the recently IPO'd the Kaspi, Tinkoff, Halyk Bank, they all have a higher ratios. It's a good question, cost to income ratio. And that's one of our advantages. We can compete, we can successfully compete in those countries because our operations are more efficient. So we have a lower cost base, which allows us to provide the clients with a better product. So for example, in Kazakhstan, we see clients who come to us, who come to Solva to refinance the existing loans that they've taken with local banks, with Home Credit, with Kaspi, etc., etc. And we are able to offer that because we have a lower cost to income ratio. Tenge is falling compared to euro. How do you protect Mintos investors? On Mintos, there is an opportunity to invest in Tenge at the higher rate or in euros, and that's up to the investor to take the decision. If they take investments in euro, we hedge it on our side, and we end up with the Tenge risk. If investor is lending us effectively Tenge, that's his choice. And that's the risk that the investor is taking. So when you are, as a Mintos investor, investing in Tenge loans or Mexican peso loans or Russian ruble loans, you are taking the risk of the local currency. There is a higher interest rate usually associated with the local currency, but you do take that additional risk. Well, I'll just quick reminder to everyone that we have our email, IDF EURASIA. So if you come up with any questions, any comments, you are more than welcome to send them. I see those emails as well, and I'll make sure that they're not left unanswered. Okay, thank you, everyone. Looks like next time we'll make it either earlier in the day or later for more people, so more people are able to join. Yeah, and that would be, I guess, the full year results. I can't believe the year has almost passed by. Unfortunately, for many people, it's been locked inside houses. Anyways, hope everyone is safe, everyone is better. Have a good day.